John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but shall have eternal life. Pause and calmly think on this. For God, Creator God, so loved the world and the people of the world, the people he created in love, that he chose to give his one and only Son to die a sacrificial death on a horrible cross, so that all who would hear of his sacrifice and believe in him would not live perishing, dead-end lives, but we would know the joy of abundant and overflowing life, both now and evermore. John 3:17. God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Pause and calmly think of this. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world or the people of the world. He did not send his Son to point out all of our flaws, to convince us that we should live in the shame of our failures. God chose to send his Son to save the world through him, that by the knowledge of the saving grace of Jesus, we would sense and know that we are forgiven, that we can walk in forgiveness, and that we do not have to walk in the guilt and shame of our failures and shortcomings. This is not a forgiveness we have earned, but a forgiveness that is freely given, because God so loved us. John 3:18. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. Pause and calmly think on this. Whoever believes in him is not condemned. This person has by faith and by the grace of God been forgiven, has accepted this free gift of forgiveness and the invitation to walk in the presence of God. But whoever does not believe stands condemned already. Is this because love and forgiveness have been withheld from those who do not believe? No. God has already expressed his love for the world and all of the people of the world. He is not taking that back. A person who stands condemned, a person only stands condemned because they do not know that they have been forgiven. The free gift of God is available to all. We just have to pick it up. And we just have to love the, quote, condemned, so that they will begin to see and know this love of God. On a practical note, probably best not to call them condemned. Let's call them neighbors and love them as we love ourselves. John 3:19-21. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. All those who do evil hate the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But those who live by the truth come into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. Pause and calmly think on this. Yes, the verdict is in. Light has come into the world, and when it shines into the dark corners of our lives, we tend to cover up. No one wants their faults or errors exposed. But when we recognize the love, the grace, and the mercy that accompanies the light of God's love, and recognize that he has already seen our mistakes, we can embrace the opportunity to grow and learn and become more like Jesus. Eugene Peterson says it this way in the Message Bible, John 3:16-21. This is how much God loved the world. He gave his Son, his one and only Son, and this is why, so that no one need be destroyed. By believing in him, anyone can have a whole and lasting life. God didn't go to all this trouble of sending his Son merely to point an accusing finger, telling the world how bad it was. He came to help put the world right again. Anyone who trusts in him is acquitted. Anyone who refuses to trust in him has long since been under the death sentence without knowing it. And why? Because of that person's failure to believe in the one-of-a-kind Son of God when introduced to him. This is the crisis we're in. God light streamed into the world, but men and women everywhere ran for the darkness. They went for the darkness because they were not really interested in pleasing God. Everyone who makes a practice of doing evil addicted to denial and illusion, hates God light and won't come near it, fearing a painful exposure. But anyone working and living in truth and reality welcomes God light, so the work can be seen for the God work that it is. Father, keep shining your light and doing your good work in us, that we might know and share the good news of the gospel. Let it be so.